In this video, we will work around Python list. We will understand what are lists in Python, and with that we will also work around the difference between list and tuple, and we will see some examples related to Python list. Let's begin. So list in Python are ordered. You can easily modify it after creating, unlike tuples. Tuple is immutable and list is mutable. That means tuples cannot be modified once it gets created, but Python lists are mutable. That means you can modify it even after it's created. Okay, let's see the difference quickly. I told you tuple is mutable, it cannot be modified, but lists are opposite, they can be modified. Tuples basically use parentheses, it's optional, you can also avoid it, but list includes comma separated value, and it uses and list uses square brackets for comma separated values, and it is mandatory to add square brackets. We cannot modify tuples and we can modify list, I told you. Tuples are considered faster than list. You can create a tuple like this using parentheses, or you can also avoid it. It is optional, but to create list you need to add these square brackets. Okay, now we will see how we can create a list. So as I told you before, to create a list we need to set the items in square brackets, and each element is separated by comma, that is comma separated values. The offset of list are like arrays, that is the index begins from 0. Let us see our first example wherein we will create an integer with 10 list elements. So here is our PyCharm ID. Let us create a new project, file, new project, Python list, click on create. So we have created our project, right click on the project, new, and create a first Python file, demo. Press enter, it will convert to demo.py. Let us now see how we can create a new Python list. Let us name our list mylist. Let us name our list, this is our list object mylist. Now I told you we use square brackets, so within we will add 10 elements. Okay, we have added 10 elements. I'll just print it like this. Right click and run, and here you can see we printed our first Python list with 10 integer items, 10 integer elements. So in the same way we will work around all these examples. Okay, let's begin. Okay, in the same way we can also create another list with the string items. Okay, so we created a simple example of list with string elements. Right click and run it. Okay, we ran it successfully. With that we can also create a list with the type float. Let's create it. Another list, mylist3 and square brackets, and within that add the float elements. So we created it successfully. Right click and run it. You can see we created it successfully. Okay, now let us see another example. Demo2.py. Herein we will create list with different data types. Okay, so herein let's say I'll create mylist1 is equal to so herein we added string elements, then we added integer element, then we added float elements. And let's say I'll again add a string element. Let's print, right click and run. So we created a list with different data types. Herein you can see we successfully printed it. Let's print another list wherein we will only add float and integer elements. Okay, so I'll just name it. Okay, so we created it quickly and successfully. Here it is, we printed it. So we saw how to create list with different data types. Let us see another example. So now guys, let us see how we can access values from a list. To access values, you need to refer the index number of the specific value you want to access from a list. Okay, that means let's say you want to access the third position. Therefore set index 2 under square bracket. Let's see. Let us create a list. So guys, we created a string list with the 5 string items and we printed it. Now we need to access values from a list, from this list. How we can do that? Using square brackets. So let's say I'll directly print it and I'll just mention the object, the list object name, and I'll use the square brackets. So I'm fetching the item with index 2, that means 0, 1, 2, that means the third position. So I'll add 2 because we need to mention the index name. Okay, I'll run it and it will return Blair. In the same way guys, let's say I want the fifth one. Let's say I want the fourth index, that means fifth position, index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4. So we mention index here, that means it will return Bryce. Here it is, it returned Bryce. So this is how you can access values from a list. Now let us see another example. Now we will see how we can update list values. As we know, lists are mutable and can be easily updated. We can use the slice and assignment operator to set the elements index on its left and the new value on the right. That means we will update the list values from the old to the newer value. Let us first create a list. So we created a list with 5 string items and within that, and then we printed it. Okay, now we need to update list values. So let's say I just want to update my list index second. So for that I'll mention the index in the square bracket. So we are updating 0, 1, 2, that is Blair item. 2, let's say I'll update it to Mark. Now when I'll print the list again, I'll just mention updated list because we updated it. Right click and run it. So now you can see we have updated the Blair to Mark, that means 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, the second index from Blair to Mark. Okay, here. Okay, the second index. In this way you can also update list values easily. Next example. Now we will see how we can remove elements from a list. At first let us create a new list. We created a list with 5 string items and we printed it. Now guys, what we want, we need to remove elements from the list. For that we'll be using the del keyword. Okay, then using the list object we'll be deleting an element using the index number. Okay, let's see. So I have used the del keyword, then the object my list, and within that let's say I want to remove the third index, that means 0, 1, 2, 3. I want to remove Stacy value. Okay, so this will remove the Stacy value. When I'll print the updated list, our list will only have 4 items because Stacy will get deleted. So we have printed the updated list. Let's run it. You can see now we were having 5 elements, now we have only 4 items because we have removed Stacy using the del keyword. In this way you can remove any element from a list. Now let's see another example. Now we will see how we can remove element from a specific position in the list. To remove an element from a specific position in list, use the del keyword which we saw before. Let us create a new list. So we created a new list with 5 string items. Now let us remove element from a specific position. For that use the del keyword, then the object name. After that under square brackets mention the index name. Okay, so let's say I want to remove Darren. So Darren is at index 1, 0th index, 1th index 0, index 1. This will get deleted, and this is also known as second position, first position and second position. Okay, that is index 1 is position second. So we have deleted it here. Now we will print the updated list. Here it is, we printed it. Right click and run. Now you can see we have printed it successfully. We have removed Darren here. As you can see in the updated list, we have removed Darren. Okay, in this way you can remove element from a specific position in the list. Now guys, let us see how we can remove a specific element. We will see how we can remove a specific element from a Python list using the remove method. Let's see how. At first, create a list. So we have created a list and printed it. Now to delete an element using the remove method, use the object name, use the list object name dot the remove method. That's it. And mention the name of the element. That's it. Let's say I want to remove hockey. I'll mention it here. Let's say I want to again remove. Let's say I want to remove squash also. Now I'll print the updated list after removing. Right click, and run. So you can see we deleted squash and hockey. After deleting, only football, cricket and archery remains. Here it is. So we have successfully removed elements using the remove method. Okay, now let's move further. Now we will see how to remove all elements from the list, that is to delete the entire list. To remove all the elements from the list, use the del keyword. Okay, let us see an example. At first we will create a list. So we created a list with 5 string items. Now we will print it. Okay, so right click and run. Now you can see we successfully printed our list, but we need to remove it, remove all the elements. It's very easy. Use the del keyword. That's it, del and the list object name. Now when I'll right click, it will only print the list, and after that it has deleted her entire list. Now when I'll print the list, what will happen? It will show an error. Why? Because we already deleted it above. Okay, so I'll just mention here error, since the list is now deleted. It will show list is not defined. Here you can see my name error, name my list is not defined. Why? Because we deleted my list here. In this way you can delete the entire list. Now we will see how we can remove multiple elements from a list. To remove multiple elements, we will use the del keyword, and within that we will set the range of elements to be deleted because we want to remove multiple elements. Let us create a list first. So we created a list with the 5 string items and printed it. Okay, so let us delete multiple elements in a range. How? Using the del keyword I told you. Mention the object name, within the square brackets mention the range from 2 to 4. Okay, so remember that from 2 to 4 means index, that means 0, 1, 2. From 2 to 4, so you would be wondering all these 3 will get deleted. No, because the right hand side of the index is exclusive, so 4 won't get deleted. So out of all these 2, 3, 4, 2 to 4, only 2 and 3 will get deleted. That means the right one is exclusive. This is exclusive. These 2 will get deleted. Hockey and cricket. Right click, and when I'll right click and run, it will show us, but we need to print the updated list also. So herein we printed the updated list. Right click. I told you hockey and cricket will get deleted. Let's see. Herein you can see rest all is visible except hockey and cricket because we deleted in a range. Herein the right index is exclusive, that means 4 won't get deleted. 2 to 4 means second and third index will get deleted. Now let us work around indexing in list. Now let us work around indexing in list. For indexing we use the index operator. Okay, the indexing in list begins from 0 just like arrays. The last item in the tuple is -1. To fetch a specific element at the same index, you need to set the index in square brackets. This is similar to what we just saw. So we will also work around negative indexing and the slice operator. to fetch a specific set of sub-elements. We'll also see what is negative indexing and how it counts from the right. Let's begin. Now let us first see how to fetch specific elements using index number. For that guys, let us first create a list. We created a list with the 5 string items and we printed it. Now guys, what we'll do, let's say I'll be fetching the first element. For that I told you I'll be using index, so just use the print. Within that mention the object name, the list object name, and under that mention the index. That means to fetch the first element use the 0th index. Okay, so we got the squash here. Let's say I want to fetch the second index, that means 0, 1, 2. I'll be fetching hockey by just mentioning the second index. Okay, that means 2. Now the result will be hockey. Here it is, it's hockey. So this is how you can fetch elements using the index number. Okay, now we will see another example. Negative indexing in list. Okay, so negative indexing basically includes left to right traversal of list elements. That means example index -1 is the last item. Okay, so we will see an example to understand it in a better way. Let us create a list. So we created a list with 5 string items and we printed it also easily. Now we will work around negative indexing. Okay, so let's say we want to fetch the last element. For that mention print under that my list, and under square bracket mention -1. Okay, so -1 will fetch the last element. That means archery, we printed it. Okay, now if you want to fetch the second last element, what you will do, since the last element is -1, the second last element will be -2. Okay, so this will print cricket here. This will print cricket. Let's see here, and you can see it printed cricket. In this way you can easily work around negative indexing in Python list. Now we will see how we can slice list. To slice list in Python, we use the slice operator, that is the colon operator, the colon. Okay, this will allow us to fetch a specific set of sub elements, that is slicing. Let us first create a list. So we created a list with 5 string items and printed it. Now what we will do, we will slice. How? Using range. So I'll just mention the list object and within that I'll use the angle brackets. So let's say I'll just mention 2:4. How it is slicing? Okay, so we are fetching specific set of elements from 2 to 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here. But just like before, 2 to 4 means 4 is exclusive. That means only 2 to 3, that is second and third index values will get printed. So herein, out of 2 to 4 index, only 2 to 3 will get printed, hockey and cricket. Right click and run. Herein you can see only 2 to 3 got printed because the right index is exclusive, won't come under the output. Let's see another example. How we can fetch elements beginning from second to the end of the list. For that we will use 2:. Okay, this means from second to the end. Herein you can see 0, 1, 2 from second to the end using the colon operator. Okay, from second 0, 1, 2 from second to the end using the colon operator, like this. In this way we can perform slicing. Now let us move further and work around range of indexes. So by specifying the start and end range, we can specify the range of indexes in Python. Let us create a new list. So we created a new list with 5 string names, string elements, items, and we printed it. Now let us work around range of indexes. So herein we went for my list object and we printed 1:2. That means from first index to second index, but second index is exclusive, therefore 0, 1 to 2, that means 0, 1:2. That means these two should have got printed, but this is exclusive, the right index is exclusive. That means second index won't get printed, only the first will get printed. That means Darren will get printed. You can see Darren got printed. In this way, let us see another example. Okay, print my list 3:5, let's say. In that case, what we'll do, I'll first add a name, Eva. Okay, now 3 to 5, 0, 1, 2, 3. That means 3 to 5, 3:5. But I told you the right one is exclusive. So out of this 3 to 5, fifth is exclusive. Okay, so Stacy and Bryce will get printed only. We fetched it, here it is. Stacy and Bryce got printed. In this way we worked around range of indexes. Now let us move further. Now let us see how to iterate through the list. To iterate we use the for loop. So let us first create a list and print it. Herein we created a list with the 5 string elements, string items, and printed it. Now guys, we will use the for loop to iterate through the list. For we in the list object, mention it, colon, and just print it. Okay, now when I'll right click and run, let's see it will print or not. So it printed all the items one by one. So we iterated through the list successfully. So how we can add elements to an already created list? So now we will see how we can add elements to an already created list. It will get appended. Okay, let us first create a list. We created a list with 5 string elements. Now we need to add elements to the list. How we can do that? Just use the object name, the list object dot append. Within that mention the new item you want to add to the list. So here it is, we added Sam. Let us again add a new one. Let's say Mark. Now I'll just print the list again. Okay, updated list. Here it is, updated list. Let's see, right click, run. Here you can see first initially we had 5 elements. Then we updated the list, that is we added new items in the list which got appended. Okay, Bryce, after that we added Sam, and after that we added Mark. Here it is, using append. So in this way you can easily add elements to an already created list. Now let us create a new program. Now guys, we will add element at a specific index in list. We will use the insert method to add element at a specific index in a list. Okay, so we created a list with 5 string elements and printed it. Okay, now we will add element at a specific index. Let's say I'll just mention the list object, my list dot insert method. I told you we'll be using the insert method, and we'll be adding the new element. Now you would be wondering where we will add it. So the first parameter is the index. So we will add Brandon at the 4th index. Okay, right click and run. Before that we will print the updated list. Okay, so we added a single element. I'll just print it. You can see we had 5 elements. Now we have 6 elements, but wherein Brandon got printed at the 4th index. That means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4th index Brandon got printed because he mentioned here, and the last index got shifted on the right. Okay, this is how you can add element at a specific index in a list. Now we will check if a specific item exists in a list. We will use the in keyword for this. Let us create a list first. So we created a list, then we printed the list. Now we will check whether an element exists in the list or not. So use the if. Let's say I'll check for Blair. So mention Blair in the list name, that is list object my list colon, and print found. If it is found, the found text will get printed. Definitely Blair is in the list, so it will print it. You can see we found successfully, so we use the in keyword under if to check if a specific item exists in a list. Now we will extend the list by adding another list to the end. For that we'll be using the extend method. Let's create a new list. We created a list with the 4 elements. I'll just print it. Now let us move further and create another list. We created another list and we printed it. We printed the second list. Now what we will do? We will extend the list. How? Using the extend method. My list dot extend, within that mention my list 2. Okay, so both the lists got extended, and then we'll print the updated list, that is my list. Since we appended my list 2 in my list, we will print my list. Let's see. Here you can see list 1, list 2 and the result of the amalgamation, that is extending. So 10, 20, 30, 40 was the initial list. It got extended with 50, 60, 70. So the result is the following. In this way we can extend list in Python. Now we'll see how to get the length of the list. Now get the length of the list in Python. We'll be using the len method for that. Let us first create a list. We created a list with 5 string elements and we printed it. Now what we want, guys, we just want the length of the list. For that, under print only, I'll just mention the list object and mention it inside the len method. That's it, and run it. Now the result will be 5, right? Here and you can see 5, the length is 5. In this way we can get the length of the list. Now let us move further. Now let us get the maximum value from the list. Okay. For that, guys, use the max method. Okay, so we created a list with the 6 integer elements, and here is the my list. And here we printed the list. Now guys, let us get the maximum from the list using the max method. So we use the max method, and within that added my list. Right click and run, and the output will be 150. Here it is. Okay. Now let us get the minimum value from the list. Okay, we will get the minimum value from the list. To get the minimum value, use the min method. So we created an integral list with 6 elements. Now we will print it. Now to get the minimum value from the list, use the min method. Okay, within the min method mention the list object, that's it, and run it. Here it is. We got the minimum value, which was 10. Okay, in this way you can get the minimum value from the list. Now let us see how we can make a copy of the list. To make a complete copy of an already created list, use the copy method. So at first we will just create a list. So we created it and we printed it. Now I just want to get the copy of the list. So create a new object, list object, and within that use the initial list and just mention the copy method. This will copy the entire list into my list 2. Now we just need to print my list 2, which is the exact copy of my list here. Right click and run. Okay, so my list 1 was here and my list 2 is here. So this is the list we copied, and this is my list 2 which copied my list 1. Okay, so we can mention my list 1 here. We can mention my list 1 here. Okay, yes, this is now fine. Run, and we ran it successfully. Next program. Now we will see how we can sort a list in Python. To sort a list, use the sort method. Okay, at first create a list. So we created a list, we printed it. Now we need to sort it, so just mention the name of the list, that is the list object, and mention the sort method, that's it. Now when you will print the list again, it will be sorted list. Right click and run. So here it is, our initial list and our sorted list. You can see archery comes first because A comes first when we sort, then comes C, then comes F, then H, then S. That means we have sorted the list. Now we will see how to reverse the order of a list. Reverse the order of a list using the reverse method. So at first let us create a list. So we created a list, let us print it. This is our integer list, a list with integer elements. Use the mylist.reverse method. Okay, this will reverse the list. Now just print the reverse list. Okay, right click and run and let's see what will happen. Here you can see the exact list and the reverse list. 110 comes at the end and 10 comes 110 from the end comes in the first place and 10 comes to the last place. In this way you can also reverse the order of a list. Okay, now let's move further. So guys, we completed all these examples. Now let us see how we can join two lists in Python. To join two lists we use the plus operator. Okay, easily. So herein we have two lists, you can see, and we will join it. Let us see the example. Let us create list 1. Print it. Now let us create list 2. Print list 2, and now we will join it using the plus operator. So I'll create a new list and within that I'll add it. That's it. Okay, now print the list 3. Right click, run. Okay, herein we have list 1, list 2, and when we join them the following is visible. So in this way we successfully join two lists. In the same way we can also concatenate lists using the plus operator. Now let us move further. Now we have the multi-dimensional Python list. Okay, lists within lists are known as multi-dimensional list. Okay, so to create a multi-dimensional list, the concept of multi-dimensional list works like this. So lists work like arrays only. That means in multi-dimensional arrays also, when we use two square brackets, the first one is the row and the second one depicts the column. So if you have created a matrix like structure like this, so the following will be 0th index for column and row. The following will be 0th index for row and first index for column, and the same goes on. The vertical part is your column and the horizontal part is your rows. Okay, so in this way multi-dimensional Python list work. Left index is the row number and right index is the column number. I told you before. Now let us see these three examples to work around multi-dimensional Python list. Now let us create a multi-dimensional Python list. Okay, so here it is. We added the square brackets. Within that we will add multi-dimensional list. We will add list within list. Okay, so let's say the following. Okay, so let us print the multi-dimensional list. So here it is, we printed it. Okay, we can also print it using the for loop to get a better structure. For in my list print res. Okay, this will print in a proper way. Here it is. So this is our multi-dimensional list. Okay, Here it is. So this is our multi-dimensional list. Okay. Now let us create another example. Access elements in a multi-dimensional list. Python list. In a multi-dimensional. So let us first create a list, multi-dimensional list. We created it. Now we will print it using for loop. Print it. We use the for loop. Now just mention print and print each element one by one. Right click and run. So this is our multi-dimensional list. Okay. To access elements in a multi-dimensional list, use the number of rows and number of columns. Let's say want to get the first element of the first row. For that just mention the row and column as 0 0. Okay, so remember the first one is row and the second one is column index. Right click and run. This displayed 10. Okay, here it is. First row first column is 10. In the same way we can work around others. For that we have mentioned second row, that is index 1, and first column, that is index 0 for column. Okay, right click and run and this will display 50. Here it is. First row first column was following. Second row and first column is 50. Second row and second column is 60. Okay, let us run it. Second row and second column, that means 1 1 is our 60. Okay, it should print 60. Here it is 60. In this way you can access values in a multi-dimensional Python list. Let's see last example. Add elements to the end of the multi-dimensional list. We use the append method for it. We created a multi-dimensional list. Let us print it using for loop. Let us print it. So we use the for loop and printed the multi-dimensional list. Now let us append. Add elements to the end. For that use my list, your list name, list object dot append, and just mention the elements you want to add. Let's say I'll mention 250, 275 and 300. Now I'll just print the list again. Let me mention updated. Okay, now let us run it. So this was our list and we updated our list with 3 more elements using the append method. Okay, in this way we can work around multi-dimensional list. So guys, in this video we saw what are lists in Python. We saw the difference between list and tuples. With that we worked around different operations like adding, deleting, extending, appending in Python list. We also worked around multi-dimensional list in Python. Thank you for watching the video.